What's up, guys? I wanna I wanna have a quick little talk about spirituality today. Kind of zooming out, but kind of in the fine details, because there's so much there's so much so many paths. There's so much debate about it in in the healing communities. Air quotes for part of that. All right, let's just get into the message. There's this really funny meme that's been going around in recent years about it'll have a couple of characters on it. It says, "Oh, so you're spiritual? You're a spiritual person? Tell me more details. Demons are spirits too." And in in the new age community, in like men's and women's healing groups and even in churches, traditional churches and spiritual communities, man, there's so much deceit, there's so much deception, there's so much bullshit out there, and a lot of liars, and a lot of people getting hurt. A lot of people get hurt in the meantime, and vulnerable people that are looking for answers, that are they're looking for questions, and social predators, people that don't have good intentions know this, and this has been the case as far back as we can tell with all the written record. Some of the most evil and horrific things are done in the name of gods and deities and Jesus and whatever other flavor, whatever other language, whatever geography you're in. It's vulnerable people. They're looking for healing, for community, for spiritual understanding of things. So it's true. We have to be, as those of us that are on the healing journey, and at various levels of connection with community around that, or desired community around that. You got to be fucking careful. You got to be really careful what you're getting into and who you're connecting with. And good God, if you've been through a lot of abuse and trauma, and especially if you've been through religious abuse, which is not uncommon at all in the churches of various kinds, from financial to physical to community, like tribal family type stuff, like abusing people and then holding it over their heads and throwing them out of the community. And this is a big deal, especially in smaller churches, when everybody if it's a small town, small church, everybody knows everybody. There's only one or two churches. Like these kind of things can do really real damage to your life, to say nothing of the other types of abuse. But at the end of the day, for me, what I've seen, and a very, very, very simple rule of thumb to follow, it was there's a couple verses that Jesus spoke about this issue, and actually another one's coming to mind right now as I'm saying this, about who is my real family. When his mother and brothers came to a place that he was staying, it says, it was my real family, the ones that are doing God's work, the ones that are actually doing God's work. That's who our real soul tribe is. And so as far as if you've been through trauma and abuse and your radar is all fucking jacked up or broken for trying to locate safe people, because a lot of our healing does happen in relationships, or needs to, or is supposed to, or whatever. That's where the damage comes in, and that's where the healing can happen as well. And a lot of things we can do on our own with God, but relationships and the container of community, like humans, we're just wired for it. We're wired for it, and that's why betrayal, trauma, abuse is so devastating to our bodies, to our souls, to our brain, to our nervous system, everything. And having it ongoing for years and years and years and years and years, dude, it's not cool. Anyways, if your radar is jacked up, like mine, like so many, it's been a lot worse, but so many people that I know have dealt with this. Jesus spoke a couple of verses that are really, really powerful. And when you're kind of testing the waters and getting the temperature, of new people, of spiritual communities, potentially, of other things related to business endeavors or whatever you got going on in your life, Jesus said two things that are to me, they're the foundation of everything, in my life, my recovery, my, excuse me, breakfast. Just understanding who people are, what's going on, etc., is a lot more simple. Number one, you shall know a tree by the fruit that it bears. If fig trees don't produce grapes, or brambles don't produce wine, or whatever. He goes into some details on it, but basically, like, if somebody's on a spiritual path, certain things are going to be true in their life, in their personality. External circumstances we can't always control, and if you've been in abusive situations and you have people trying to undo your life, then that's another thing entirely. Sometimes those are the result of karma. Sometimes it's because we live in a world full of evil people and sick people, and people that are just operating at a low level of consciousness. So we have to get out of it, because many of us have deep shame as well. We can't be in the habit of taking on everybody else's stuff and saying it's all my fault, it's my karma, it's this and that. Sometimes it is, and it's really good. It's worth looking at that and asking God about it. God will show you, what is your karma, and some of it might be family karma too. But anyways, a tree by the fruit that it bears. Later on, I think it's by John or Paul. It's in one of the letters of Paul, I think, and he talks about the fruit of the Spirit. The fruit of the Spirit are love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, and self-control. And it closes with, against such things there is no law, which, we know now that's not necessarily true. A lot of people are trying to outlaw these things and destroy these things, and claiming that they're Christians at the same time, incidentally. Kind of interesting. But I don't know if this camera's gonna work. I'm trying to get a little breakfast, little brekkies made up. The fruit of the Spirit. If you're talking to somebody who is actually on the spiritual path, regardless of the name, whether they have a God with the same name as you, the God of the same understanding, like with the details, those things can vary. But across any religion, any spiritual tradition, any language, as far as I can tell, if you're spending time with God, with prayer and meditation, and seeking to do the right thing, asking the Holy Spirit, or asking God, or whatever languaging you like, what to do and how to do it and how to live, until such time as you're, wherever you're at in your healing process, until you don't need to ask anymore, because it's just intuitive and automatic. Because if you do heal, if you do the work, you will get to that point. You will get to that point where it's not a question anymore. But when you're trying to find safe people and do all this stuff and move into connection, community, relationships, etc., take your time, get to know people a little bit, dip your toes in a little bit. But when people claim that they're on the spiritual path, and if they don't manifest these qualities in their life, in their character, on a consistent basis, and yes, we're humans, we're not going to be perfect all the time by any stretch of the means, but the consistent quality of a human being who says they're on the spiritual path, they should be pretty well aligned with these qualities. If it's a church, and this is what they're creating and helping people to create in their own lives on a regular basis, the indicator light is a little more pointing towards safety and integrity. And yes, this is a church that's actually doing the work of God, by whatever name, in whatever tradition, whatever faith that is. God obviously is beyond words and beyond human comprehension and beyond anything that we have. But true spirituality, people that are truly on the spiritual path, they will manifest these things overall in their life. And they will be on a path consistently, daily, working to continue manifesting these things for themselves and their others, and growing in these qualities as well. if there's not love, there first and foremost, if there's not accountability, if there's not repentance when we harm another person, even to me, even outside of being on a spiritual path, a lot of this stuff just should go without saying. Anybody that's a freaking adult should be able to do most of these things, but we don't live in that world. But as it is, when you're seeking a spiritual path, and if your radar for people, for connections, for institutions has gotten mangled up because of your history, these are a really good couple verses to fall back on. And there's others, man. My upbringing is both Judeo-Christian and I studied a lot. I love Eastern religions, Buddhism, Taoism, other things I'm learning a little bit more about, Upanishads and stuff in recent years. But you find the same themes in all of them. When you look down below the words, it's the same stuff they're all talking about. If you can exist in peace and stillness and love, listening to God, listening to Spirit, trying to do your best and help heal the world in whatever ways that God has given to you, that's being on the spiritual path. And so when you're starting to step back into this world, if you've been out for a season or for most of your life, connections can be so healing and so powerful. And we're wired to connect. We've evolved, for millions of years to connect and to have tribe around us and family and people, safe people around us. And that's been disrupted for so many, maybe the majority in this modern age, but we still need these things. Even introverts need these things at some level. And it's good for us if we find safe people, if we find people that aren't abusive, narcissistic, looking for ways to take us down. But yeah, there's verses like this in whatever tradition you're in. There's really similar stuff, and so I just want to encourage you, if your wiring gets if it gets lit up and your threat, your alarm level is like 11 out of 10, like just being around people, because of how much damage, how much trauma you've been through, man. Slow down, breathe a little bit, breathe a little bit. Remember how far you've come. Man. And have, something I did for years. Now a lot of this stuff is integrated into my soul, after many years of this healing work, but keeping a little tiny journal in your pocket, or like a miniature Bible or things like that, or whatever works for you. But I did that for a long time, and I would write down I actually do it still with my affirmations. I don't carry it around with me everywhere, but writing down some of these verses that are super duper meaningful to you, and those two are really good, particularly. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit rambly already. I'm trying to focus in on things going by and my breakfast over here at the same time. I was gonna do like a short. I was gonna try to do like a 3-minute video, but not today. Yeah, man, just write stuff like this down and carry it with you, and pull it out of your pocket as many times as you remember to do it throughout the day. When you're in a season of getting back into relationships or trying to find a community, or you're looking for work or things like that, and you need a safe place, you need safe people to be around. It can help to have these messages to read and to fall back on, and to remember. There are safe people in the world. There are good people in the world, and you shall know a tree by the fruit that it bears. Because a lot of people like to talk about spirituality. A lot of people like to, there's so much fakery out there right now, and with all these like healing communities and men's and women's groups and all this stuff going on, I've been seeing it for a decade and a half. It's largely shysters and BS at the end of the day. These are people who can't look in the mirror. They can't take accountability if something is brought to their attention that they've done wrong. Slipping and sliding and pointing in every direction except say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Because they did, and they don't care. That's the opposite. That's the opposite of being on the spiritual path. Gaslighting, bypassing, bullshit. You know a tree by the fruit that it bears. And so, like, give it time, dip your toes in slow, check people out, check businesses out, check institutions out. A lot of them are broken beyond repair. You know, we're in the overhaul season. We're in the tearing down season right now. We haven't even started. It's a lot, man. It's a lot. If you're going through all this stuff in your personal life on top of, you know, on top of what we're going through collectively, my heart's with you. My prayers are with you. My prayers are with you, man. It's not an easy road, but check people out and say, do their actions line up with who they say that they are? And you have a right. You have every fucking right to do this to people. Nobody deserves to. Nobody deserves to have control over you, over your energy, over your path, your direction, your life, or anything else. So check people out. Do they actually operate in love? Do they actually, are they manifesting these things? Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, self-control. And do they have fucking accountability if they're confronted about something? Not from somebody that's projecting and attacking them, but I mean in a honest and straightforward and in a clean way. Because that's really the tell. That's really the tell right there. Accountability, man. Accountability is in short supply, and it's the foundation of everything. It's the foundation of all adult relationships, let alone everything else that society's built on. The economy, businesses, institutions, spiritual, you know, everything is built on accountability. It's the foundation of adulthood, and you know, it's in short supply. Anyways, I love you guys. That's my 17-minute short. Hope you're doing great.